Hello and welcome to the Fabasoft Folio 2011 Spring Release Fabasoft Done event. I will present the newest release of the Fabasoft Folio product together with two of my Scrum Masters and Christian Wimmer, team member. Let's start. What is the agenda for this event? We will start with some improvements in the user interface. Specifically, we have created a new card view. We will show improvements about drag and drop, what we can do now there. And we will demonstrate some innovating use of working with column data in the details view. Then we'll go on with some management topic or kind of custom solution development. We will show how to build a custom setup and improvements we made in this area. And we will demonstrate some innovations in the open standards track there. Specifically, we implemented a new byte serving feature. We will demonstrate XML import and export, and we will showcase our CMIS interfaces, how to develop for it, and some stuff around our CMIS interfaces. We will end our presentation with a new Folio folder feature, which can be used to synchronize for offline use of Folio data. So let's start with the generic card view. There we, in addition to the rich set of views we already have implemented in our product, just to name the views, there's a detail view where we can select custom columns and show various data to get a rich and easy access to metadata on the objects. We have a thumbnails view where we have a focus on images, photos, and metadata is presented in addition if the user selects a specific object. We have a preview view where we have focus on contents. We show a big content in the center of the page and have an easy selection of this document presented. Then there is an additional carousel view. It's best used with fixed items. They are presented in kind of carousel, and the user can select one of the items, for example, to enter some specific working domain area. In the detail view, detail data can be selected. It's possible to select custom columns and to select a specific arrangement, how to look at these, how to order and group these data that are presented. The new implemented card view has the feature of combining some of the metadata views with previews of images. There is a preview image presented depending on the type of object looked at, and specific metadata can be predefined per object class what is presented. The natural choice of this view, of course, is the display of cards for contacts and persons. It mimics kind of usage for business cards as in natural life. Christian Wimmer will present this feature now.
Okay. Thank you, Bernhard. To show the brand new feature of displaying list items in business card style, I've prepared a folder containing some contact persons. Here we see the well-known detailed view, where in the top there is column settings which allows you to sort and group the data. If we toggle to view, change view, we can now choose card view, and we end up in a new style for displaying the list items. The cards are divided in the top and the border region. In the top region on the left hand side we see the image representing the object. Then we have the name of the object, and in the lower region we have some metadata defined by a form. When hovering a card, we see this arrow. Left clicking this arrow, we get a context menu. Also, we get a context menu when right clicking on the upper region of the card. A selection will be shown in each card in this upper right region. with shift click we can select multiple cards as we are used from the detailed view. If we go back to a folder, we can also use the card view with another object class than contact person or persons. What we see here is a slightly different style. And now we have the image representation on the left-hand side, then we have the name of the object, and then we have metadata like on the contact person. But what we see now here is that we have some kind of preview of the object. So how is this defined? We switch to the server. Now we have an administrative view. We go to the object class contact person, look to the user interface side. Here are the forms defined for this object class. Here we have a new entry card view, and we have a look on the form we use for displaying the card view. Here is the card style portrait, so the picture is represented in the right upper area and have some mirroring effects. One single page defines the metadata displayed on the bottom of the card. As we saw before, there is the name, the organization, and some other metadata. If we have the look at the object class folder, we have a look at the form again, and we will see that the card style is landscape, so the picture is represented on the left-hand side. And on the form page we'll have some interesting things. Description and object list, some simple properties used for daily life and for the use in the card view. We have a representation on the advanced side, on the action side. Here we'll see that there is a get expression, a get action for displaying in the card view. And on the other hand, we have the preview. And on preview, we have on the user interface side a control, and this control provides the preview on the card view. So where does the image, where's the image defined? If we go to the contact person, we see that this is the image of our person. This is defined in our conversions table. Here we have an entry for our card view. Here is defined the width and the height, and in the content configuration we have a definition for our person to use the purse image, and for our object class object we use the symbol image. As we know from the winter release, mainly often used menu items are defined as special items in the menu, so they end up here in the button bar. For displaying the change view menu, we have a new type of button, the so-called toggle button. If we go to change view, we have a dynamic list of menu items. Same list is shown when we click this little arrow. By clicking directly on the symbol, we can toggle through the views depending on the last settings. To show this, I can go to the menu, and as we see, normally the weighted list menu entries are defined here, and if we have a dynamic menu action defined on action to build dynamic weighted menus, then this ends up in a toggle button.
So I'll switch back to the slides. Next point, we made some major innovations is the use of drag and drop in our product. We use drag and drop for natural interaction with the operating system and with applications. For example, you can drag and drop files from the Windows desktop into our web browser client, and you can drag and drop attachments from Outlook, for example, right straight into our Folio product. The other place we use drag and drop is for working with lists. You can move single items from lists into other lists or other objects. You can move multiple items at once. You can use it to do some reordering just within a list and say put some item to the front of the list. And you can use all these new features within aggregate lists, and you can use it into simple object values to point some stuff in there. Interesting is the definition of the drop target. If a container is represented, for example, a Scrum project is represented by one single item on the desktop, but there are multiple lists working with this item. For example, there's an inbox and a list of defects and a list of stories and things like this. And then one has to decide in which list something gets dropped when it's put on the icon. Christian Wimmer will show this again.
To start this demo, I will start by importing some pictures into the system. This was possible in Winter Release 2, but there is a slight difference now. If I start dropping the images, I will have a nice feedback that 24 pictures are selected now. I start dropping, I get an input dialog asking me whether I want to import this. And new in Spring Release is now that I am able to import the same picture twice with the same name, ending up just with a bracket and number how often this picture was imported. Yeah. Another possibility is to copy the pictures, go back here and paste it. The same dialog appears. Yes, I say some more pictures. As Bernhard said, it doesn't matter where to grip the object, the image in my case. It's defined by the target whether it is a reorder or a movement. So if I drag this object, and I'm between two objects, a slide cursor will show up, and there the object will end up if I drop it there. Of course, it's possible to select multiple files and drop them. Drag it below jellyfish, for example. It's possible in other views, of course. What's nice here is that the selection is still the selection I had in the other view, and I can take it here and reorder it, for example. Of course, it's possible in the card view too. Take some images. Yeah, okay. I will switch back to the detailed view, and a nice feature is when selecting a few images and want to drag them down, there are regions at the bottom and at the top, forcing the list to begin scrolling when we are over there. So it's easy to have a reorder job in a nice way. What also is possible is reordering and drag and drop into aggregate lists. For example, I have an organization with a list of addresses. I can select items and use this handle to reorder them. What normally really difficult is to define whether this object is the drag target and which list inside this object is the correct drag target. In Spring Release we have fixed this by implementing some actions. I will show this in a little demo. Here I have created a simple demo object, class object with display view filter. It's a compound object and has two lists. What I want to show is that if we drag an image in there, it should end up in the save filter object list, and if we drag a folder in there, it should end up in the read filter list. So what I had to do is to override the get value drop target, and I did this with an expression like this. Okay. So I go here. Here is my object class, and dragging this would end up in a reorder. And if I go down, I get the feedback that it's possible to drop it here, and it disappeared. So it ended up anyway here in the object and the folder too. So have a look in there, and as I had defined, images are in the save filter and folders are in the read filter. Of course, it's possible to drag it down out, for example, using the breadcrumb. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Another point where we made some major improvements is the display and use of column values in the grid and the detail view. Now it's, as before, it's easily possible to edit values there in the details view. Now we can use cut, copy, paste, delete on these specific data values there. The innovative feature is you can use this on multiple custom columns you selected and copy and paste multiple values at once. As this might sometimes end up in undesired changes, it is right now possible to make an undo. The undo is somewhat limited as these are shared objects and the object was changed in between. It might not always be really the same state to undo your operations. The clipboard format used is the native clipboard format, so we can interact with applications, for example with a Microsoft Excel product, and there we can exchange values and copy values hands and forth. And Christian will show this again.
To show this, I have prepared a list of employees, and let's say that in the last few days we had got a couple of new colleagues. I can enter the enter date by pressing F2. Let's say yesterday they came, and now I can copy this by pressing Ctrl C and selecting another empty column and Ctrl V. It's copied. But also I can select a couple of fields, and with Ctrl V they are entered. So it's possible to bring one value into the whole selection. This is possible, for example, if I have a subject and I enter here for a subject, let's say Folio, Fabasoft, done. And And if I select these three items, press Ctrl C, and then select a specific range with some holes in it and press Ctrl V, then this selection is filled in. If the selection is larger than the entries I have copied, then it starts on the beginning again. So to show what to do if we use a third-party product like Excel, I go to the clipboard, data table, copy simple. Now the whole data is in my operating system clipboard. I open an Excel sheet and I press Ctrl V. So all my data are here in the Excel sheet, and I can do some really scientific calculation. What I want to show here is I have the titles of my people, and in German-speaking countries these titles are gendered normally, and what I want to do is if the sex is female and there's a title, I want to gender the title. So this nice formula I want to do with all of my data, and it ended up here in some different titles. I press Ctrl C and now select my column, Ctrl V, and immediately all my data is changed. Of course, the object tag is immediately changed too. Very nice. So what I can do else is, of course, in every single property, this is possible, of course, in object pointer properties too. If I press Ctrl C, I can say they are in the new company. One of the best features here is if I had made a mistake, it's possible to undo the last action. This is very nice. So, what I can show in editing in this view is we had an issue that editing in this style for object pointer, the icon in front of the object pointer is very dominant, and the data go to the back. So we had a couple of object pointer properties where we left out the picture of the object pointer. This can be defined on the object pointer property. For example, for created by, last changed by, ACL object, owner and group, and so on. There are a few system properties and folio properties which are in spring release now in this style. What I can show now is the customization point for filtering such display view, load and save actions. Every time the system loads the columns or saves it implicit or explicit, there is now a customization point where you can have the possibility to override the saving or loading. Therefore, I can show you my little Dux project again, and as the name says, object with display filter. I have two lists, the object save filter list and the read filter list, and I use the customization point filter display view list action to show you this. I have an implementation test filter display view list action, and this implementation that does the following. If the view is the object list with filter, with save filter, in write action, so the write location is defined, I say when the right location is greater than 1, I want to cancel this action, and so that I'm able to save this, for example, on another object, on the whatever I want. And in the read case, the right location is not defined, I want to display the offical object. So it is not possible for the user to delete this. Let's have a look at this. If I have a look at my new object display filter object, the save filter is normal when you initialize it with the object name, and the read filter does the LCL object because of our manipulation of the display view list. And if I add, for example, a toStore, the object RTL object is still there. If I remove it, it's there, and I can't remove it because every time the list is read, the manipulation takes place.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this is a mighty feature, so someone can develop a custom solution where each and every column the user uses might be added or deleted, but some columns may stick in there and will always be shown. Okay, so now we switch from the user interface to kind of management or custom solution setup things. We will show how to develop a custom solution as a AppDux project. The steps involved are we develop the custom solution in the AppDux project. We merge the resulting bits there with the setup bits, and then the result is a setup a customer can use and have this integrated user experience of this setup. What we improved in this version is that the customer now can at setup time decide to update the solution only. This will result in an improved loading time and updates, or for example updates of the solution only may be required in some projects. Okay, so Horst Reiterer will show this to us.
Okay, thank you, Bernhard. Let's have a look at the process of creating a solution. Okay, so the starting point is, of course, Fabasoft AppDux, and I already have an instance here, and a predefined solution which we can take a look at. Firstly, what do we have to find in this solution? Basically, you define the components that are part of the solution, then the dependencies, for example, in this case, the dependency is edition folio compliance, which means that it has to be installed in order for the solution to work. And the third component is optional demo data that you can have as part of the solution, so that you can provide demo material for demonstration purposes as part of the solution itself, which can include files or other things like custom code loaders, for example. And of course, now that you have defined this, you need a way to deploy it. And the first step to get closer to deployment is export that solution that we just defined. And Fabasoft AppDux provides a way to do that using the export functionality. And now we can select extract solution to do just that and define the solution that should be extracted. We only have one, so we simply start the process up. It's quite fast, already finished. So we can switch to the administrative view, the backend, to see how that process continues. So before actually working with the solution we just exported, we take a look at a Fabasoft Folio kit. and the data it contains. So the root folder contains a set of files that are required for actually running the setup, so for the setup itself, the infrastructure. And now the most important part is the setup folder, which contains all the component object specific information and also the solution information that we are interested in. So for comparison reasons, let's take a look at the Folio Compliance Edition. Here we have a package subfolder, and in there we have a set of CO files and demo data files. As I mentioned before, they can be part of it, which can then be used by the Fabasoft Folio loader to update or install a Fabasoft Folio domain. So this is a predefined layout, and we have to satisfy that layout in order to integrate our new solution. So let's see what the extraction result is. We have here a folder sample solution and the content, which looks quite similar to the edition we've seen before. So we copy that and go back to our setup kit and paste that information in here. Now all we need is a subfolder which is setup specific, called package, and we move the contained data into the package. And now we are ready to deploy, so there's nothing more we have to do, no directory and anything like that. So we can simply start the setup up. And I will demonstrate that as part of a new functionality in Spring, which allows you to deploy or install or update a solution without dependencies. So previously you had to install or update the whole solution, including dependencies, which meant relatively long update time or install time. And particularly in case of hotfixes, you don't want to update the whole thing, you just want to update a specific set of components or only the solution itself. So we integrated a feature to allow only this update and simple incremental updates. So now I can decide between doing a full install, a full update, or a load of a specific solution or edition without dependencies. That's the new functionality we are going to use. And as we integrated our solution, we can now select it and could proceed with installing / loading the solution, including demo data if it's required.
Thank you. The next thing we want to show is an improvement in the open standards area. There we implemented byte surfing for our web services. The standard is quite old actually. It's part of the HTTP 1.1 protocol. And the tricky thing in there is that it works with our comments, which are dynamically served. There has to be some specific e-tag handling on the client side too to make use of this protocol. And this works, of course, with static documents and with dynamic content generated, for example, with the conversion server generated comments. There are some user improvements due to this new feature. For example, download can be resumed if the client application uses this feature. Streaming of video is enabled, and especially rendering of PDFs may be faster as this can be done incremental. Horst will show this again.
Okay, so I will illustrate this new feature based on the last two scenarios. Let's switch back to the system we need. Okay, so here I have the desktop of David Porter, and David Porter has two media files, one PDF and one video. Both of them are quite big or rather large. 20 megabytes for the PDF, which is a 4,000 page document, and 50 megabytes for the video. So what I'd like to do is compare the previous status quo to the current one with the new functionality to see how the new feature affects the user. And the first thing we'd like to do is download the PDF and see how the PDF gets rendered based on the feature being there or not being there. So we start with the feature disabled. I have a specific web service that has this feature disabled. and we simply view the PDF. What we can now see is that we see the download progress, and the window even freezes. That's part of the Adobe Reader implementation out of our hands. But as you can see, there's no way that I can get feedback right now. I have to wait for the whole downloading process to finish, so there's nothing I can do. I have to wait for the full result. Of course, that's not very user-friendly. I'd like to have an immediate possibility to inspect the data. So I switch to a different web service that has this feature enabled and do the same. And I have immediate access to the document, and I can even switch or scroll to the end and have immediate access to any page I want to inspect, because the plugin automatically fetches the right page for me and downloads the whole document in the background. So that's very nice for the user. Let's see if we can cancel that. Okay. A similar functionality is enabled by that feature in terms of video streaming. So here I have a 15 megabyte video trailer based on the H.264 format. And what I'd like to do is stream that video right from the Fabasoft Folio domain using the Windows Media Player. So I prepare two URLs, one URL which has this feature disabled and the other URL with the feature enabled. And we'll see what the difference is from a user perspective. So it's already started. So using Windows Media Player, you can specify a URL to open. And I specify the non-incremental version, of course. And now let's see what the effect is. Okay, so in the bottom you see the progress, the download progress actually. The video is already running, and now we'll try to seek forward. We want to skip some parts, and in this case we even get an error message. It depends on timing behavior. But generally speaking, the point is that you cannot seek because the client application would have to download the whole thing, and only then you can view that part. So, and if you compare that to the other one with the feature enabled, I think I closed it, have to open it again. And we'll see, okay, we have the download progress, and now we can seek right to a specific section without ever waiting for the download to complete. We can also seek back, because whenever we seek, it simply resumes the download from the point of dropping the new location. Okay.
Thank you. The next thing we want to talk about is the CMIS standard. It's an open standard. It was originally initiated by AIM and is now as a standard developed by the Oasis group. The first version of the standard, version 1.0, was released in May 2010. Key features of the standard is it's language agnostic. There are currently two bindings specified. The one is for SOAP and the other one is for REST, with some metadata updated using XML. The CMIS standard has rich capabilities. We supported all the required features of the standard. In addition, we implemented right in this version the multi-filing feature, and we added something we called aspects. It's a kind of extending the set of properties that are available for a CMIS client to see. Without this aspects feature, it would not be possible to have access to some custom properties developed on some specific object classes. How this works, Martin Osanger will show to us.
CMIS integration can also be used with different clients which are built after the CMIS standard. I will show you an example from a different default client called CMS Bases, which is an open source project based on Adobe Air. After a small configuration, we have only to add the appropriate CMS repository URL. We can access our Fabasoft Folio desktop via the CMS interface to our desktop. So now we can see our desktop was loaded, and we can swap into the folders, or we can create a new folder. And after we created the folder, we can swap into it and import some files. After the files are imported, we can swap into our client and look, the folders are created and imported into the desktop. So, how does such an XML looks like? After calling the CMS repository URL, we're getting an XML. This XML looks like the following. The most important node is the workspace node. Here we have a collection. This collection contains the children URL. The children are all objects which are on my desktop of the Fabasoft Folio account. Then we have some other important information. The repository ID, in our case, it's the ID of our desktop. Then we have the name, the vendor name, the product name, the version, and so on. So, if we swap to the children XML, as I mentioned before, I will show you two entries. One entry is a folder and one entry is a document. Let's start with the folder. Here we have some other link to the object, a link to the children's of this object. This will be here. We have some properties, so default values, what are necessary for the CMS standard. We have the object ID, which is the SO address of our object. We have the name and some other important properties. With these XML files, we can easily create an application that interacts with Fabasoft Folio. I have prepared two samples to explain this a little bit more. Let's start with my program based on SOAP, written in C#. First, we have to add a service reference. In this reference, we have to define the VSTL files that are applied from the CMS standard. If we look at some of these VSTL files, the VSTL files supply us the necessary classes and the properties for these classes. So, first I have to instantiate a repository service port client object from which I get the repository ID. With this repository ID, I can get the children's of my desktop with only one call. If I have the children's, I can iterate through all these objects and save the properties I need in some values. In my case, I saved these values in a string array. After I've done this, I create a new property which I want to update. In my case, I want to update the object name of all objects which contains a specified value what I defined at the top. The value was what's new, and all objects started with what's new should be updated. Here I defined a new value with my new name for these objects. Then I only have to call the update property statement with the right parameters, and then all objects will be updated. Let's execute the program. After some seconds, calling the each statement, all my PDF objects which called what's new will be updated to Fabasoft Spring Release what's new. Let's take a look to our Fabasoft Folio desktop, and you will see all objects are updated. Now go to another sample. This sample is based on Java. In this sample I have to pass the XML myself. So I have to create an XML parser. I'm getting my XML files from the appropriate URL, and then I have to go through to parse the whole XML to get the children link, what I need for my objects. Then I parse this children XML for the object I want to change. This object I've defined at the top of the program. And then I add to the URL to this object the aspect parameter. With this parameter, I can access all the attributes defined in the formula. I send my own XML file to the web server, and with this I can update these properties. This XML file looks like the following. Here I have defined the property I want to update, and here I have the value which I want to set. So if I execute this program, a remark will be set to this object. And if you look on the remarks was added.
Thank you. Okay, so we now come to the last feature we'll show you. This feature is implemented based on the CMIS API, as is our native client for the iPad and the iPhone, as is the native client for Android. The Folio folder enables easy and rich access to documents and structure, or speaking folders, as they are modeled in Folio. It is possible to synchronize metadata of these objects as PDF. There is support for links, so if you have some documents referenced from within various projects or folders or things like this, this is modeled as based on operating system links. Features of the Folio folder are customization per client. It is possible to use some specification what to take offline and synchronize per client. We have support for large files, upload up to 2 gigabytes, upload and download, and there is a strong focus on the Microsoft Windows integration. We are there integrating the sys-tray in the notification area, and we will see this soon how this works.
If we open the context menu, we can show some menu entries. If we open the Folio folder, a template collection of our desktop will be created. This template collection is empty. If we go into a folder, this folder was also be empty. The Folio folder was created in the user profile of the currently logged in user. In the context menu, we have two proprietary items. One of the items contains a submenu, and this menu allows you to open the object in the web browser or open the properties of the object in the web browser. The other menu entry start a synchronization. Use this synchronization button on a folder. This folder will be synchronized from Fabasoft Folio to our local file system. And after a really short time, all the items contained in this folder are synchronized to our file system. And what we saw here is that all objects which are duplicates from other objects that are already synchronized will be created as a shortcut to the original object. This really saves space on your local file system. So if we now look at our desktop, we saw that all of these objects are synchronized on our local file system. If we now take a look on our configuration, we saw one entry with our workstation. This workstation contains the included and the excluded objects. The included objects are all objects what I want to synchronize with my local file system. The excluded objects are objects that I don't want to synchronize, but which are an object of my included objects. What's new in Fabasoft Folio Spring Release is that we can rename our workstation ID So we can also define more workstations in our configuration. For example, if I have a laptop and one computer, I can define for each device a separate list of items which I want to synchronize. You can also use the synchronization tool for importing files. Let's create a folder, this folder called Pictures. And in this folder, I import some files from the file system. And now this folder is marked for upload. You can see that with the blue icon on the folder. If I now use the synchronization button, this folder will be uploaded into Fabasoft Folio and the folder structure is created like in the file system. We can now see that all files are already uploaded. If we now go into our desktop, we see that this folder is created. Let's change the view to thumbnails, and we will see that also all files are imported. We could also make some changes. Let's swap the rotation of the picture. Then this file is again marked for uploading. If we now press again synchronize, the changes made to this object will be synchronized to Fabasoft Folio. If I made a thumbnail, so the object was also touched in Fabasoft, so our system knows that both objects are touched and there a conflict will occur. I resolved the conflict by discarding the server-side changes. And if I now refresh my folder in Fabasoft Folio, you will see that these changes from the file system are also in my folder in Fabasoft Folio. If I go and delete a folder or I unshare it from my desktop, and then I will start another synchronization, this folder will not be deleted immediately. It will be moved to a hidden trash folder, and this item in this folder will be deleted after 7 days. And if I delete the folder here and start another synchronization, the folder will not be deleted, it only will be unshared to avoid loss of important data.